today we got this PS5 again. This is the PS5 where sometimes it boots. I thought it was overheating. After cleaning everything, the liquid metal, replaced all the thermal pads, it still will just shut off randomly. Sometimes it just won't even turn on. I even replaced the power supply to make sure it wasn't that. And we're still having issues. So what I'm going to be doing is reading the error code from the board using, I don't have a UART reader, but what I do have is, well, I do have one because you can use the CH341A chip programmer for programming BIOS and NORs and things. I have this because I use it to read and write to the Xbox Series X NOR, but you can actually use this as a UART reader, and I'm going to show you guys how. And we are going to be doing the 3-volt mod to this. So I know there's some disagreement online whether or not that's necessary for reading and writing to BIOS chips that run off of 3.3 volts. However, in this case, because I'm going to be using this as a UART reader, the PS5 only responds to a 3.3 volt signal. Otherwise, the south bridge won't respond. So we actually do, in this case, if we're using it as a UART reader, need to do the 3.3 volt mod to this. So let me just get the PS5 out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and do that. Let me just show you. So if I connect this up here, and we're in DC volts. If I just read the TX and RX pins here, so here's transmit, you can see up here, right there, you can see that we have about 5 volts on that pin, and then same on the receive. And the problem with this is the south bridge on the PS5 just simply won't respond to our reader. So we need to do the 3.3 volt mod so that there is 3.3 volts on both of those pins, so we can connect it up and read the error codes from the PS5. So without further ado, let me get under the microscope here. We need to lift this pin here. I believe it's pin 28. So if we open up the schematics for this, which I can link in the description, you can see here we're going to be lifting pin 28 VCC, and we're essentially just going to be connecting it to 3.3 volts, and then we also need to connect this pin 9 up to 3 volts as well. And lifting this pin will essentially disconnect it from the 5 volts coming into the 3.3 volt regulator, and then also coming into the chip. This will essentially allow us to have 3.3 volts on our TX and RX pins, which are coming directly from this chip. Actually, it's going to be a little bit easier to pull this up if I throw this in a board holder. Make my life a tiny bit easier here. And it will come from this side. So got it lifted a little bit here. Come on. Let's try that again. Just want to get right under the leg and just lift it. Just like that. I think that's lifted. Let's just double check it's actually disconnected, and I don't believe it is actually. I think there's still a little bit of solder underneath. That should be good, just like that. Perfect, so that's lifted. And just going to go ahead and clean that area. Cool. And what we're going to do is just throw some solder mask on the pad under there, and also on that trace that I scraped a little bit when trying to lift the pin. So and now we should be good to spread some of this around. That is more than enough. Just get it spread out so it actually cures. Beautiful. And let's go ahead and cure that. All right, so this is nice and cured. And I'll just pick up any excess there. Perfect. So nice and insulated between the pin we lifted and the pad below it. All right, and now we need to run a wire from this pin. Just gonna turn this back the other way. From this pin we lifted to the 3.3 volts of the regulator there. And I'm just gonna use some enameled wire for that. Just gonna hold this in place here. Just like that. Pop a little flux. That looks good to me. And I'm going to try to burn that enamel off at the same time as soldering to that leg. Perfect. Alright, and now we need to run some more wire between pin 9 on that chip. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one right here. So let's get that wire going. There we go. And then we just need to clip this and get this soldered onto here. Just like that. So I'm just gonna hit this whole thing with some low temperature hot air and clean it up. And the last thing we're going to want to do here before we use this, you can see the pin 1 and 2 bridged. This is for chip programming. And then if you bridge pins 2 and 3 for TTL. So that's what we want for reading the PS5 error codes, is bridging those 2 pins, 2 and 3, for TTL. So now, just letting this board cool down a little bit. And let me go ahead and plug in the programmer. And now we can measure the voltages on the TX and RX pins here. There we go, 3.3 on TX and 3.3 on RX. So that is wonderful. Now we can go ahead and hook this up to the motherboard. I have a diagram here from GBAtemp, which is super helpful for the different board revisions. So let me just switch to that quick. So you can see here we have the explanation of the mod here, the fact that the PS5 won't respond to 5 volts, which is why we have to do the mod. And then you have the EDM 01 or 02 boards where you can use this little grid of pads here, or on the 03 boards you can use these 3 here. And then he uses some tools from GitHub. So we're going to be doing this on the PS5. This is going to be our connection up here. Let me just switch to the, yeah. So we've got a EDM 020 board. So it's going to be these 3: ground at the top, TX in the middle, which is going to RX on the reader, and then RX on the bottom, which is going to go to TX on the reader. So again, we're looking at this is going to go to ground on the reader. This is going to go to RX on the reader. This is going to go to TX, transmit. Alright, so I've got a little cable here. These don't mean anything, but we're going to use ground for ground. So that's going to go right here on ground. RX, we're going to use the green one here, which is going to be right next to ground. And then we'll use the red one for transmit, which is right next to that. So we've got red, green, and black. So let me actually turn this whole thing around here. So this is going to be kind of upside down from the drawing. But as long as we keep track here, we'll be fine. So the bottom one, in this case, bottom left here, is going to be ground. So let me get that attached. Let's get some flux on all three of these. Alright, let's actually just tin these up with some leaded solder just so it's a bit easier for us. Come on. This ground one is going to be tricky because it's hot. Or, sorry, not hot. It's just going to eat all the heat with that big ground pad. Alright, let's try that again. Perfect. So that's ground, and then we're gonna put the green one on TX. And the red one on RX. Alright. Probably could use more solder there, but I don't really care because it's just temporary. We're going to go ahead and plug this in. So I should see this show up on Device Manager. Just want to make sure, check which COM port it's going to be showing up on. I think it's going to be COM4. Let me unplug this for 2 seconds here. Yeah, 4. Alright, so now let's go over to the computer here. And you can see we have the link for the tool that they're going to use here on GitHub, and this is just a Python thing. You have to install a serial dependency for Python. We're going to run this. So I'm going to plug in, actually before we do that, let's click 2. We're going to go for COM4. That's good. And we can do Control E. And I'm going to just plug in the PS5 now. So we're going to wait. And we do have a UART ready command, which is a good sign. So that's good. We're going to do error log 0. Alright, so we got one. We'll do error log 1. Same error. Error log 2. Again, same thing. And what we're looking at again is this second code here. So we can, okay, we do have a different error here. But let's take a look at what this one is. So if we go look, I think there's a list of codes here. Secure charger error. Let me just copy these into a Notepad. All right, so we're gonna look for this one, secure charger error. Okay, we're also gonna look for this one, shutdown freeze after loading SAM IPL, problem with DDR6 data line. Interesting. Let's keep going here. Yeah, so far these are all the same. All right, this one's different, 21. What's this gonna be? APU access error, thermal sensor. All right, so far, I'm just gonna copy down these. All right, we're gonna keep going. Another one of those. That's a new one. XDPE chip. Interesting. Okay, we're gonna clear the codes. So we're gonna say error log clear. So if we look at any of them, we have nothing. All right, so now we are going to try to restart or start the console. So I'm gonna press power, we get the blue light. And we're waiting for it to shut off prematurely, which should happen within a few minutes. So it might turn white actually. Yep, there it is. But if we just give it a moment, should see it shut off. Sometimes it does this where it actually boots. It's confusing. But then it shuts off while you're playing a game or something. Oh, there it is, it just shut off. So let's read the error log again. And we get this now. What about, yeah, so it's really just this currently. Which is whatever this is. Secure charger error. All right, we're gonna try powering the console on again. That time it beeped and didn't display any light. Let's see if we get another error log. Nope. Still just that. Okay, we get blue light again. It's turning on. Shut off. All right, what about now? Same deal, we got two of the same error log here. So it really is just this, which is shutting off right away.